Okay, welcome to week 7, where we're going to really think now about managing a restaurant. And I'm going to leave you to reviewing the blog on how the steps of service. Think front of house with suggestive selling, the server, the hostess, those kinds of positions, we're pretty knowledgeable about just based on our overall experience going out to eat. What I wanted to focus on a little bit more was some of the things that aren't as noticeable to an average customer going into a restaurant. And that's thinking about all of the business side of it and how we need to really focus on purchasing the right things, having the right amount on hand so that you don't have to run out of anything. Servers don't like it when we have to, they call it 86, or when there's an item that's not available for them to sell. And then, customers are not happy with that either. Making sure that we're storing things properly. So the first in is the first out so that things aren't getting expired, which can increase our food costs, as well as really properly forecasting so that we know or can anticipate how many people we think are going to come in, what they're going to be ordering, so that we can plan properly. Part of that is going to go into some ratios. So this is a little bit math heavy, but some of the operating ratios that we talked about previously in the rooms division and with beverage are similar in thinking about food cost, right? Our cost divided by our sales. And so in thinking about that and the activity that I had you do to build your own restaurant last week, we're going to expand upon that and think about that restaurant concept that you developed and those menu items, and really, would it be a profitable menu item? And so to do that, first of all, if you have not completed that yet, or some of the submissions did not have precise menu prices on some of the dishes that you selected, I'll have you hit stop right now, and please go back and revisit that so that you can really determine that menu item that you have that you'd want to offer in your fictitious restaurant, and then what is the price of that. So we'll really need that to be able to continue on. Okay, so if you've already done that, now let's get to it and let's think about that menu item and how we would go about figuring out the cost of it. And so I've done a couple of exercises before, and I'm just going to move this screen here so that you can see. This is a basic Excel spreadsheet, and I just copy and pasted this particular item is spaghetti and meatballs. So I Googled a recipe for how to make the tomato sauce, how to make the meatballs, and put down exactly what I would need. And then I went and used also my friend Google to list all of those menu items, and then, or all the ingredients I should say, and then what is the cost per unit. So I went to maybe Costco or Safeway.com, and I looked at how much olive oil is, and I learned, and you can kind of take a look, that it's $19.99 for 16.9 ounces. And so that cost per ounce is what I determined it to be, because I decided for mine I was going to reduce it all to the same unit so that I could get a good dollar amount. And so I figured out how much olive oil I would need. It turned out to be $7.10 worth, because I knew I needed 6 ounces, and I knew how much it was per ounce because I did a little quick formula for division there. I learned how much garlic I need. Canned tomatoes, it was $3.69 for a can, and I knew I needed 4 cans of it, so that was $14.76, and so on and so forth, right? The spaghetti, I knew I was going to need a full pound of that, and so that was $1.39. And my recipe that I pulled, it said it serves 6 people. So this total dollar amount that I had, $60.65, is what I came up with to make that spaghetti and meatball dish. But I know that that will serve 6. So if I divide that, I can figure out that in order for me to plate 1 plate of spaghetti and meatballs, it's $10.11. I was retailing my spaghetti and meatballs for $18. So that means we just take here, as you can see, the cost divided by the sales, and that is 56% food cost. So a little bit high, right? We want to have our food cost usually in the 23 to, I would say, 28% range. So I would probably need to look at a couple of things if I was this restaurateur. Perhaps raising the price, perhaps looking at sourcing some of my ingredients at a better deal or a better price. I think in this particular recipe, and then, I can look through and see what is costing me the most. I'm using veal and pork and beef in my meatballs, and the veal is the most expensive. So maybe I would want to take a look at maybe tweaking the recipe to see if it didn't change the quality, but it was able to yield me a little bit more profit. So a couple of ideas of how you could look at that. We'll look at another one. We'll look at my recipe that I found on pot stickers. So for pot stickers, same thing. I was able to cut and paste the ingredients for the pot stickers. I Googled to see how much it was, $4.29 for 16 ounces. I needed 3/4 of a pound. So I was able to get my cost per unit, figure out how much per ounce, how many ounces I needed. So here, a little bit of a different format, but the same idea. I know that it cost me $9.44. Now this recipe, it was making 48 pot stickers. So 48 pot stickers for $9.44. But my restaurant was going to serve an order of 6 pot stickers. So I could take this amount and I could divide it by 8. Now I was only retailing the 6 pot stickers for $2.75. That's a really good deal. So I should probably take a look at increasing that amount. B, when I take my cost divided by sales, that's 43% food cost. So again, a little bit high. Here's one where I did a little bit better up front. So my tuna roll recipe, I was able to get my cost per unit of the sushi rice, tuna, swordfish, etc. You see here the swordfish sticks out, and these prices are from a couple of years ago when I did this. Figured out how many ounces I needed of each, so had that total amount. Gosh, I'm using some caviar too, right? So a really fancy tuna roll. So my total cost for this recipe was $27.57. The recipe said it served 2, so if I divide that in half, I find out that it cost me $13.78 to plate that serving of it 1 tuna roll. And I was retailing it for $60, right? Because it had the swordfish and the caviar is really upscale. And so my food cost there is 23%. So pretty good. So you don't have to submit any kind of spreadsheet at all, but I wanted to give you some ways to take a look at how to go about this, and really it is as simple as writing down the recipe and then looking to see how much things are. If you're going to use a pinch of salt, that's a little bit more difficult, so you'll want to just use your best guess, and maybe that's a penny based on where you're getting your salt from. And so I am hoping that you'll be able to go back to that assignment that you did last week on building the restaurant and making sure that you take a look at those items, those 3 items and the pricing, and then determine what your food cost was for each dish. And then we can take a look and see, maybe some recommendations, like I said, on changing the menu price, maybe adjusting the serving size, maybe adjusting the ingredients that you use to try to make sure that you're turning a profit in your restaurant. So I do hope that you enjoy this week's assignment and you learn a little bit more about the restaurant business. I hope you have a great week ahead. Thank you.